The following video was filmed from outside, number 43, a weathered, teal-sided place with peeling paint and darkened windows. During the day, moving past it slowly, with what looks like a phone pointed up at the upper floor. Nothing obvious at first, just a tired-looking house under overcast light. Watch.
Yeah. Y'all hear that shit? Okay. Listen. So the guy that lived here moved, right? He left and he said that he was going to live in his car because his wife died or something like that. I don't know, some weird shit, right? And I have not seen this guy since. It's been like, I don't know, a year and a half. These two windows stay open during the blizzard that just went by. Them shits were open. Rain, sleet, shine. I kid you not, the window is always open. I have not seen anybody come in or out of this in like a year and a half, 2 years. Listen, every like 2-3 months, you'll randomly hear some fucking screaming coming from this house, yo. Listen, it's gonna happen again. Watch. It's gonna happen again. Not because I'm kidding. Watch. You hear it? It's gonna happen again. Somebody's about to walk by. I don't want to get them on the camera.
In the top right window on the upper floor, a dark, head and shoulders silhouette appears for barely a second. No features, no movement, just a shape that fills the glass and then disappears. It happens more than once. Some viewers think it's a person standing inside, which would be the simplest explanation, except the shape doesn't behave the way a person passing a window normally does. It doesn't drift or move through the frame, it materializes and vanishes. Others think it's something that doesn't want to be seen clearly, only noticed. That distinction matters, and the fact that whoever filmed this kept the camera on that window says they thought so too. The following videos both deal with something specific and deeply unsettling, an entity that doesn't just move through a home, but borrows the identity of the person living there. In the first clip, a woman had been recording strange activity in her house for some time, describing it as a melting pot of paranormal things happening to her on a regular basis. One morning, while the house was quiet, she set her phone down near a closed interior door, a door she was nowhere near, and captured something on audio that stopped her cold. Watch.
Hey. Hey.
I think that is one of the creepiest things that I have ever caught on camera and that I have ever experienced in my life. That sounds almost identical to my voice. Like, I thought it was 100%, and then I listened back to that recording and I was like, something's off. Which is the way it goes with these things, it's always almost correct. I was careful to not respond to it, and after I took that video, I walked away and came back later. But yeah, I guess it's using my voice on me now, which is weird. If this is even the same thing, who knows? We have a melting pot of paranormal things happening in this house and to me at all times. But yeah, that was creepy. I'm so glad that I started recording because no one would believe me without that. Has anyone else ever heard their own voice? That's so weird. Like, I've heard other voices, but my own.
From behind that closed door, a disembodied female voice says, "Hey," 3 times, calm, clear, slightly echoed, as if coming from a hallway just on the other side. And according to her, it sounds almost identical to her own voice. She says she was careful not to respond to it, and you can hear in her retelling exactly how unsettled she is. What makes this harder to dismiss is the detail she added afterward. Her husband told her he'd heard the exact same thing coming from that same door the night before, and had simply ignored it. Both of them, separately, hearing what sounds like her voice calling out from a place she wasn't standing. In paranormal research and folklore alike, this falls into a category often described as mimicry, an entity that reproduces the voice, appearance, or behavior of someone familiar, typically someone who lives in the space. Some believe mimics do this to provoke a response, to get the target to answer back, or let their guard down. Others think it's something older and stranger, an intelligence that absorbs identity rather than simply copying it. The second clip pushes that idea even further. This time, a man was moving through his home at night when he turned a corner and panned his camera into an adjacent room. Watch.
Babe?
Yeah? What's up?
Are you upstairs?
Yeah? Why?
Standing completely still in the corner of the room, facing away from him, is a figure with long, dark hair and a dark, oversized shirt, a figure that looks exactly like his wife. He whispers her name. She answers, from a completely different floor of the house. The two of them confirm out loud, in real time, that she isn't in that room, but the figure stands there anyway. The slowed-down replay makes it clearer. A distinct silhouette, motionless, positioned in the corner with its back to the camera. A doppelganger, in the original folkloric sense, is not just a look-alike. Across many European traditions, seeing a perfect double of a living person is considered a deeply ominous sign, sometimes a warning, sometimes something far more predatory attempting to pass as someone trusted. Skeptics will argue staging, and that's a fair point to raise. But the calm, muffled confirmation of the wife's voice from upstairs is the detail that's difficult to script away. 2 clips, 2 homes, 1 pattern, and neither person has figured out how to make it stop. Whatever these things are, they seem to understand exactly who they're imitating, and that alone is what makes this so hard to shake. Quick thing before we continue, all of our videos are now available on Spotify too, so if that's somewhere you already find yourself late at night, every compilation we've made is waiting there for you. Whichever way you'd rather watch, the link's in the description. Now back to the video. Now, in this next clip, someone has a wardrobe in their home that they keep tied shut with a lanyard, and at night, they decided to film what's inside it. That detail alone should give you pause. The wardrobe itself is a plain 2-door wooden armoire, nothing obviously threatening from the outside. But the fact that whoever owns this felt the need to keep it fastened closed says something. There's no explanation offered, no context given, just a tattooed hand reaching into frame, untying the lanyard and pulling the door open. Watch.
So I'm sitting here watching a movie and my cabinet yanked. Like, you can still see it moving a little bit. Like the thing I have it tied shut with, and usually it's tighter than that. And see? Look, I told you. I told you something was yanking on it. And it's weird because it's been a long time since it messed with this cabinet. Hello? You want to do it again? Are you trying to get the doors open? Oh, I would take that as a yes. Hello? Is there a reason why? Did you move the doll? Yo. Nah, come on, man. And my phone just glitched out, yo, at the same time.
What's inside is a dense, carefully arranged collection of porcelain dolls, clown figurines, horror books, specifically the Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark series, a framed photograph of an unknown man, a red skull, a small collection of knives, and at the bottom, the box for a Ouija Junior board. The whole thing is completely silent, no reaction, no narration, just the slow, shaky pan across row after row of glassy, unblinking doll eyes staring back at the camera. Some viewers think collections like this are harmless curiosities. Others believe that objects, especially dolls and Ouija boards, stored together in an enclosed space, can act as a kind of anchor for whatever energy they've absorbed over time. What's keeping that door tied shut? This next clip was recorded inside someone's home during the day. Bright light coming through the window, a quiet living room. Nothing unusual on the surface. The man filming, a teenager or young adult, points his phone at a turned-off TV screen, using it as a mirror to show the room behind him. And that's when he notices it. Watch.
Is it? Am I tripping or is that? There's someone sitting on my couch, but like, there's no one there. What? But like, there's no one there. There's no one on the couch. Oh my God, it's gone.
In the reflection, a dark, human-shaped figure is clearly sitting upright on the couch. Distinct head, shoulders, torso, but when he pans to the actual couch, it's completely empty. When he looks back at the reflection, the figure is gone. His voice says it all. What? Then, oh my God, it's gone. Some believe what he caught is a residual apparition, an energy imprint that only registers through indirect surfaces, which would explain why it appeared in the reflection, but not in the room itself. You decide what that figure was doing on that couch, and whether it knew it had been seen. This next clip comes from a man who says his circuit breakers have been tripping almost every night, and he's got nowhere else to go. Speaking in Spanish directly to the camera, he explains the situation while moving through his home in complete darkness, the only light coming from his flashlight. Tonight he's had enough. He grabs the camera and starts recording, telling whoever's watching that this is happening to him nearly every single night, that the breakers keep cutting out, and that he has no choice but to keep living there. His voice is already strained before he's even made it down the hallway. Watch.
Chicos, comienzo a grabar. Se me acaba de apagar las palancas otra vez. Se saltaron las jodidas palancas una noche más. Me está sucediendo casi todas las noches, ¿vale? Y que tenga que seguir viviendo aquí porque no tengo dónde ir. ¿Qué cojones es eso, tío? No, 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 no. No, no. Me llama, llama, me llama.
As the flashlight beam sweeps right, a tall, thin, dark humanoid figure is standing completely still behind a sheer white curtain, and the moment he sees it, the footage goes chaotic. He screams, runs back down the hall, slams a door behind him, and then something on the other side of that door bangs back, hard. If you focus on those final seconds, you can hear him whimpering, breathing in pure panic, repeating that he's going to call someone, though it's unclear who he thinks can help at that hour. That figure behind the curtain is what's drawn the most attention. It's tall, unnervingly thin, and doesn't move even when the flashlight lands directly on it. Some viewers immediately connected it to what's often called a shadow person, a dark humanoid presence that many describe as featureless, motionless, and deeply aware of whoever's watching it. Others think this could be something more like a residual apparition, an energy imprinted into the space. But what nobody can explain is that bang on the door. What was standing on the other side of it? This next clip was recorded by Larissa's home security camera during the night. A static, wide-angle Xfinity camera mounted high in the corner of her living room, watching over 2 couches and a front door, while her brother slept alone inside. Larissa wasn't home, but she had access to the live feed and could speak directly into the room through the camera's 2-way audio. Her brother was deep asleep on the far couch. You can actually hear him snoring. When, at around the 1-second mark, the front door begins to swing inward, slowly and silently, all on its own. No wind, no one near it. The door drifts to about halfway open and stops there, and then the infrared light cuts out entirely for 3 seconds, plunging the room into near total darkness before flickering back on. Watch.
Yeah. What? What door? Ow. How's your door even open, Larissa? Seriously, man. How's your door even open? The door was locked. How's it even open? Fuck, man. No, I'm not doing nothing. Your cat's fucking here. I'm not doing this, dude. You should be asleep, man. You should be asleep. You should, huh? What? The cat's here, Larissa. Why is the door even fucking open? Why? No, I didn't. No, I didn't. Because when I went to bed, the door was closed and locked.
Watching all of this in real time from somewhere else, starts calling through the camera, "Wake up, the door is open," and her brother stirs, confused and groggy, before walking over and closing it. What follows is the part that's hard to dismiss. He checks the door, repeats out loud that it was closed and locked when he went to bed. And when Larissa asks if he could have gotten up and opened it himself, he insists he didn't. The cat was in the room the whole time, which he points out himself. That rules out a pet nudging it. Some viewers think a pressure differential or a faulty latch could explain a slow door swing, but is that really what happened here? This next video was recorded inside what looks like someone's living room late at night. A cluttered, dimly lit space that already feels off before anything actually happens. Red string lights run down the side of a large wooden hutch, casting a warm glow over the mess on the floor, and right at the base of that hutch, a porcelain Pierrot clown doll in a gold and black outfit sits facing the hallway. Further down that hall, a pile of Raggedy Ann dolls is stacked on a chair, and through an open doorway at the far end, the back room is completely dark. The person filming holds the camera low and steady, trained on that hallway, and for nearly half a minute, nothing moves. Watch.
I don't like them footsteps, man. Especially not that bag moving. Sounded like my daughter's door. Like, nope, nope, nope. I was so focused on that noise at my daughter's door, I didn't even see that going shut. Footsteps are crazy, man. Yeah, come on, dude. I know y'all hear that whispering. Yeah, fuck footsteps, dude. Sorry for my language. I really just don't want this door shut on my face. Get back a little bit. I swear I keep hearing voices.
Some viewers immediately focused on the dolls, particularly the clown, and the collection of dolls. While there's no evidence that dolls themselves are paranormal, they've occupied a unique place in ghost stories for centuries. Because they resemble people without actually being alive, they've often been used in folklore as symbols of vessels, objects believed by some traditions to attract or temporarily house spiritual energy. Modern paranormal stories have only reinforced that reputation, especially when unusual activity is reported in homes where large antique doll collections are kept. Skeptics, however, point to the house itself. Older homes can carry sounds in strange ways, making footsteps from outside, neighboring rooms, or even expanding floorboards seem far closer than they really are. Whisper-like noises can also be created by distant conversations, electronics, or audio compression in low-light recordings, but you be the judge. The following video was captured by a man who had already grown used to being woken up in the middle of the night by things he couldn't explain, to the point where it had become a routine, something he no longer questioned immediately, but instead documented, almost as if he knew that whatever was happening would eventually show itself on camera. Before this night, he had been dealing with faint knocks at odd hours, objects shifting slightly out of place, and moments where he would wake up feeling like someone had just been standing over him, watching, only for the room to be completely empty when he fully opened his eyes. Over time, it became harder to ignore. especially when he started hearing low sounds at night, scratching, dragging, and at times something that almost resembled breathing, close enough to feel real, but never visible long enough to confirm. So when it happened again that night, when a loud sound suddenly pulled him out of sleep, he reached for his phone, hoping to finally catch something clear enough to explain it all. What he captured instead only made things worse. Watch. The door creaks open first, slow and deliberate, with no one near it. Then a small black creature lunges onto the bed directly at him, letting out a shriek that doesn't sound like anything domestic, followed by a deep growl. Many would immediately label something like this as a demonic presence, and in many reported cases, it's said that when something like this begins to feel comfortable within a space, when it's no longer hiding or limiting itself to small signs, it can escalate even further, sometimes attempting to influence or even possess the person living there. In this next clip, a man in Chihuahua, Mexico, had been running a studio space he'd been using for work. A cluttered, horror-decorated room filled with vintage masks, a porcelain doll, and a large, ornate mirror. He'd already lost a week's worth of security footage because the cloud trial on his camera system expired before he could save anything locally. Then, on a Tuesday night, while he was away recovering from an eye injury, his security camera triggered a movement alert at 9:10 p.m. He ignored it at first. It wasn't until Thursday that he finally came back to check, and that's when things got harder to dismiss. Watch. The security camera, the kind set to tracking mode, begins panning slowly across the empty room on its own, as if following something invisible. Then, a door that was slightly ajar in the background swings fully shut with deliberate, unhurried force. The doll by your right also moved without anyone in sight touching it. When the man arrives with his handheld camera that same night, he walks to a corner of the floor near the desk, a floor he says he'd left spotless, and points the light downward. Have a look.
Fijé un poco. Yo había dejado limpio. Y hay unas huellas ahí. Esos días hizo bastante frío, hizo mucho frío. Bueno, para que alguien anduviera descalzo, lo dudo mucho. Para la gente de aquí de Chihuahua sabe que no se puede andar uno descalzo en la calle. Y luego miren, yo calzo del 9. Ese pie es enorme, está muy grande. No es mi pie. O sea, la verdad sí está muy grande el pie. Le digo, oí pasos
a large, dirty, barefoot print on the floor. He holds his own shoe next to it for comparison. He wears a size 9, and the print is noticeably bigger, both in length and width. There was no sign of forced entry, so from that point on, the debate around what's causing all of this only intensified. Some people are convinced the activity is tied to a large mirror he brought into the studio. According to him, the strange occurrences began almost immediately after the mirror arrived. In paranormal belief, mirrors are often considered portals, reflective surfaces believed to thin the boundary between spaces. Many cultures warn that mirrors can act as gateways, allowing entities to observe, attach, or even pass through. If that's the case here, it could explain the sense of being watched, the movement being tracked, and the idea that something is present without fully manifesting. But others believe the mirror isn't the source, it's the doll. Dolls act as vessels, not necessarily haunted at first, but capable of housing or attracting a presence over time. The fact that the doll moves during the footage and that disturbances seem more physical, doors slamming, objects shifting, leads many to think the doll is what's anchoring whatever is inside that studio. And then there are those who think it isn't one or the other, but both. Some believe the mirror may have opened the door, and the doll became the place where whatever came through decided to stay. Until more updates are shared, this remains unsolved. Now in this next clip, a couple decides to do something many people would strongly advise against. Sitting together in a darkened room, candles flickering around them as they place their hands on a Ouija board and ask whatever might be listening to make itself known. Watch. Before this moment, they had already experienced strange activity in their old apartment, which was located right next to a hospital, a detail that, for many people, immediately raises questions, because places like that are often associated with intense emotional energy, loss, and unresolved moments that some believe can linger. They reported hearing unexplained sounds, feeling watched, and noticing subtle disturbances they couldn't explain, which led them to wonder if something might have attached itself to them. So when they moved into their new place, instead of leaving it behind, they made a decision that would change everything, using the Ouija board to find out if whatever they had experienced before had followed them into this new home. Watch.
Anybody there? Is anybody there? Can you give us a sign? Can you give us a sign? God. Oh my God. There's no way. There's no way. Dude, there's nobody in here. There's nobody in here. What is going on? Oh.
Some viewers believe this confirms their fear, that something from their old apartment may have stayed with them, something that didn't leave when they moved. But others argue something far more unsettling, that it wasn't about something following them at all, but about what they may have invited in at that exact moment by choosing to use the board. And that's where the situation takes a more serious turn. Because people familiar with how these sessions are traditionally handled were quick to point out a critical mistake, something that might seem small but carries heavy implications in paranormal belief. The fact that they removed their hands from the planchette without properly closing the session or saying goodbye. According to those beliefs, that final step isn't optional. It's meant to close whatever line of communication has been opened by skipping it. Many believe they didn't just stop the session, they left it unfinished, leaving what some describe as an open doorway, something that doesn't simply close on its own. On another day, they decided to do it again.
Is anybody there? Is anybody there?
No.
Jacob, we have to get out. We have to get out.
Moments like this are often used as examples when people talk about the risks tied to using a Ouija board, not because of what is guaranteed to happen, but because of what can happen when boundaries aren't understood or respected. The idea isn't just that something might respond, but that once that line is opened, it may not always be clear what exactly is responding or whether it intends to leave when you're done, and that's the part many people overlook. Because it's not always about whether something followed them from before. Sometimes it's about what they may have invited in, without fully understanding how to send it back. This next video was recorded by a man who has been documenting what he describes as an increasingly aggressive haunting inside his home, and by the time this footage begins, he's already terrified before he even reaches the bottom of the stairs. It started with smaller disturbances, noises in the night, his dog refusing to behave normally downstairs, a growing sense that whatever was in the house was no longer passive. He blames the spirits for recent bad luck in his life, including a car accident, and on this particular night, he grabs his phone and heads downstairs because something has set his dog off again. Watch.
Nouvelle vidéo, on entend du bruit, mon chien s'est énervé d'un coup. Devient catastrophique. Les esprits deviennent agressifs. Oui, j'arrive, ma fille. Et pire, c'est qu'ils me partent la poisse. Là, il y a 2 jours, les gendarmes m'ont rentré dans la voiture. Elle était devant chez moi, mais la voiture est épave. Beaucoup de chance. Beaucoup de chance. Et l'excuse, c'est le keuf avait une poussière dans l'œil. Vous y croyez, vous? Ben, moi, malheureusement. Oh putain, c'est quoi ce bordel encore, putain. Ça fait que ça, c'est incroyable. On essaie de trouver des solutions, mais il n'y a rien qui marche. Cherche, mon chien, cherche. Il y a quelque chose? Oh putain. Ça devient bizarre. What the... Oh putain, ça m'a piqué. Ah. Putain, c'est quoi ça? Mais c'est quoi ce délire? C'est quoi ce délire, putain de merde? Oh là là. Putain, c'est quoi ce délire? Putain de merde. Ça devient n'importe quoi ce baraque. Si vous avez des idées, des conseils. Ah, des idées, des conseils, je suis preneur. Honnêtement, ça... Oh putain, c'était quoi ça? Oh fuck off. Oh sa mère. C'était quoi ça, putain? C'était quoi cette merde? Si. Ah, putain. Ah, fille, qu'est-ce qui t'arrive? Non. Non. Mais non. C'est quoi ce délire? Mais c'est quoi ce délire, putain de ça? C'est quoi ce voix de sa mère? Putain. Sa mère.
He claims to feel fingers pressing along his spine, then shouts out in pain as the camera lurches violently, as if something struck him. Then it got worse. The television switches on by itself, blasting loud, dramatic music into the dark room, and his dog stands near the glass door, with her tail tucked, too frightened to move. He uses the remote to shut it off, but within minutes, it turns back on, this time changing channels and raising its own volume, while the remote sits on the floor in front of it. Some viewers immediately pointed to poltergeist activity, a term used to describe a type of disturbance associated with physical force and object manipulation rather than a simple haunting. But the man's response to all of this is what makes the second clip even more unsettling, because rather than leave, he keeps confronting it. Watch.
Prochaine vidéo, j'ai décidé de me battre contre cette chose malveillante.
Horrible. Ça fait un moment que j'ai pas fait de vidéo, mais là ça empire. De jour en jour. Des marques, des griffes. C'est insupportable. Ah, c'est toi qui me fais peur. Alors, il y a quelqu'un? Putain, c'est insupportable. Putain. Putain, c'est quoi cette merde encore? Non, mais c'est pas possible.
He descends the same staircase again, speaking in a tense, hushed voice, saying things are getting worse day by day. Marks, scratches, unbearable. His dog startles him in the dark. Then a loud bang erupts from somewhere off camera. The camera whips sideways, and from inside a closed toy chest, a child's musical melody begins playing on its own. He opens the lid. The music cuts off the moment he slams it shut. For some viewers, a toy activating inside a sealed chest with no one near it lands differently than anything electronic. It feels deliberate, like something announcing itself. And if that's true, the question isn't whether it's still down there, it's whether it ever planned to stop. Now in this next clip, a man is riding his motorcycle alone down a dark, isolated road at night, heading to a wedding, when something on the roadside stops him cold. At that hour, there's usually nothing to see except the road ahead, so when something appears in the distance, it immediately stands out. Watch.
Fuck, man. Oh, fuck, bastard! Oh, shit! Oh, shit, man! Oh, shit, man! Oh!
As his headlight stretches forward, it catches the outline of a figure walking along the road, tall, pale, and unnaturally still in the way it carries itself, not reacting to the approaching motorcycle, not stepping aside, just continuing forward, like it doesn't even acknowledge him being there. And that's where it starts to feel wrong. Some viewers believe what he encountered could have been a ghost, the kind often described in roadside sightings, figures that appear briefly, usually at night, sometimes tied to past accidents or tragedies, known to show up without warning and disappear just as quickly, leaving the person who saw them questioning what they just experienced. So if you were riding down that same road, alone, and that figure appeared in your headlights, would you slow down and try to understand what you're looking at? Or would you keep going and not look back? Now, in this next video, a man claims that every single night when he returns to his home, something is already there waiting for him, and he decides to prove it. The building itself looks abandoned in stretches, a barrack-style structure at the end of a dark gravel path, lit only by a single street lamp overhead. One night, he hears footsteps like someone running around the house. Shortly after, this happens.
And I don't know what that was, so I'm gonna set up my camera here. I can watch down the hallway.
Some viewers believe this kind of activity points directly to a poltergeist, but until more updates are shared, this remains unsolved. The following clip is about a man named Daniel Thompson, who occasionally returns to stay for a few days at the family home where he and his sister grew up. Recently, due to some accommodation issues, he's been staying there more often, and during those visits, he says he's begun noticing things in the house that he can't easily explain. According to Daniel, the strange feeling isn't entirely new. In fact, he believes something may have been present in that house since they were children. One reason he gives is his mother's unusual hobby. She has always been an avid collector, filling the house over the years with all kinds of strange antiques, dolls, puppets, and odd artifacts she picked up from flea markets, thrift stores, and estate sales. And one item in particular has always unsettled him, the dollhouse sitting in his sister's room. Daniel says that almost every time he walks past that room, he hears a faint knocking sound coming from inside. And for some reason, he's convinced the sound is coming from the dollhouse itself. Watch this.
Do you hear that? Those are the tapping noises I was talking about.
After hearing the knocking so many times, Daniel began wondering if one of the strange items his mother brought into the house years ago might have something attached to it, and considering how many eerie collectibles fill the rooms, it's not hard to see why the thought crossed his mind. In the next clip, you'll see some of the unusual items his mother has collected over the years. Take a look.
Okay, so the other thing that really creeps me out, that I do not like, but I will show you guys, is in my sister's old room, or I guess still room. Dollhouse. I don't know how to explain it. The only thing I can say that has happened with it is sometimes when I walk by, or like I go, the bathroom's back there, and I walk through and I hear like tapping coming from this room. It's like it's like yeah, it's like I know it's coming from this room, and so I come in here and then it usually stops, except for like maybe 3 nights ago, like the tapping kept happening, and I came over and I was trying to figure out like where it was coming from, but it was coming from this dollhouse and I don't know where, and it hasn't done it since. Like, why is it so intricate? It's like, freaks me out. I'm not showing you guys this again, so take one last look. Yeah. Fuck that thing.
His mother has several old dolls, puppets, and handmade figures, some of which already look unsettling even before anything strange happens. But viewers watching the footage noticed something that Daniel didn't mention right away. Toward the end of the video, just before he says, "Freaks me out," many people claim they can hear what sounds like the faint voice of a young girl somewhere in the background. And then there were the comments about one particular doll, the red one in the beginning of the clip. Several viewers said the doll had what they described as bad juju written all over it, with others pointing out the puppet beside it also looked unusually sinister. But according to Daniel, those aren't even the creepiest dolls in the house. There was one they absolutely couldn't stand while growing up. Watch this. If you look closely at the doll wearing the blue shirt and purple pants, something odd happens. For a brief moment, its eyes appear to blink. It's subtle, but once you notice it, it's difficult to unsee. Still, the most convincing moment for Daniel came after he decided to move the dollhouse out of the room. Almost immediately, the knocking sound stopped. For a while, the house became completely quiet again, but then something else happened. The knocking started again, in the room where he had moved the dollhouse, and that alone was enough to make him uneasy. Eventually, Daniel decided to spend a night at a friend's house, just to get away from the place for a while. But while he was there, his phone rang. It was his mother asking if he was back home trying to scare her. Confused, he told her he was still at his friend's place, so she sent him a video recorded by the living room security camera. Watch this. In the footage, the living room appears completely empty, but after a few seconds, faint footsteps can be heard moving through the house. At first, she thought Daniel might be playing some kind of prank, but after confirming he wasn't home at all, the situation suddenly felt a lot more serious. For the first time, she started wondering if something else might actually be moving through the house, and if the sounds really were coming from whatever was inside that dollhouse, then moving it may not have solved the problem. It might have just moved the problem somewhere else. Until more updates come from Daniel and his family, all anyone can do for now is hope whatever is happening there doesn't get worse. In this next video, a team of paranormal investigators return to the Wheelhouse in London, a historic building dating all the way back to 1885. Today the building operates as a pottery business, but according to local stories and previous investigations, the place may hold more than just clay and pottery wheels. During an earlier investigation, the team believed they had captured evidence suggesting a female spirit might be connected to the building, possibly dating back to the time of World War II. Wanting to learn more about who, or what, might still be present there, they decided to return for another night of investigation. Watch this.
The lady that wanders here that leaves the smell of a fragrance, a perfume. What was that, Phil? I heard knocking. Did you hear knocking?
I don't know.
As soon as I mentioned the lady.
While Phil, one of the investigators, is speaking about World War II and the history surrounding the area, something unusual happens. In the background, a faint whisper can be heard, quiet but distinct enough that several viewers immediately noticed it. Listen closely.
Until after the war, when they decided that they were going to go back to what they knew best, and that was shop fitting. Now, one of the directors was a chap called George.
Hold on, Phil.
Until after the war, when they decided that they were going to go back to what they knew best, and that was shop fitting. Now, one of the directors was a chap called George.
Hold on, Phil.
In this part of the recording, a voice can be heard saying something that sounds like, "The Yankees are here." The phrase immediately caught the team's attention because during World War II, American soldiers, often referred to as Yankees, were stationed throughout parts of the United Kingdom. Some viewers believe the voice could be connected to someone who lived through that time, perhaps replaying a moment from the past when American troops arrived in the area. Trying to get more answers, the investigators continue attempting to communicate with whatever might be present in the building, and that's when this happens.
Last time we were here, this particular area we're sat in now, we heard quite a few noises. We heard the china being moved or knocked against. Could you do that again, perhaps on... What's that?
It's the REM pod going into alarm. The temperature's gone into alarm.
Oh, I heard a chink of something as well.
Yeah, I did. Somewhere behind you on the pottery again, Phil?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
Could you do that again for me, please?
Suddenly, the REM pod, a device used by investigators to detect electromagnetic disturbances, goes into alarm. According to the team, the device reacted at the same moment they felt a sudden drop in temperature in the room. Then, almost immediately afterward, a sharp sound echoes through the building, like a piece of pottery being struck or knocked over somewhere nearby. The investigators pause, waiting to see if anything else will happen, and before long, they hear something else, Watch this.
Do you want me to talk to you about the war, as you asked? If you do, could you knock maybe the pottery again or bang on the table?
Someone's walking.
I heard something then.
Just heard footsteps.
You can hear clear footsteps, as though someone is walking through the building. What makes the moment unsettling is that the investigators confirm they are completely alone inside the space. No other staff, no customers, no one else who could be walking around the pottery workshop. Yet the footsteps sound deliberate, like someone slowly moving across the floor nearby. Old buildings often carry strange sounds, shifting wood, echoing pipes, distant vibrations traveling through the structure. But moments like this still leave people wondering if something else might still be moving through places, long after the people who once lived there are gone. So was it echoes from the past, or a spirit tied to the building's wartime history? You decide. Now in this next video, a woman named Genevieve hears something that catches her attention late in the evening. From another room, she can hear her young daughter talking, not just babbling or playing, but clearly speaking as if she's having a conversation with someone. Curious and a little confused, Genevieve calls out to her daughter, asking who she's talking to. A moment later, the little girl begins walking out of the dark room toward her mother. But as she steps out, something else appears in the footage. Watch closely.
Lorelei, come here. Lorelei, who are you playing with? What are you doing?
At first glance, many people's first reaction is probably the same, a shadow. But when viewers started looking closer, several details made the situation far more unsettling. For one thing, the room behind the child is almost completely dark. There's no obvious light source inside the room that could project a shadow that clearly across the space. Yet the dark figure seems to move independently from the girl herself. And if you slow the footage down, the shape doesn't match her body. The child is only wearing a diaper and a small t-shirt, but the figure behind her appears to have something hanging behind its legs, almost like a robe or long piece of fabric trailing downward. Even stranger is the way it moves. Instead of stretching or bending like a normal shadow would, when projected onto a wall or floor, the shape walks upright, moving through the middle of the room as if it has depth, almost like a three-dimensional figure rather than a flat shadow. Some viewers also pointed out something else that's hard to ignore. The dark figure appears to move before the child moves. Normally, a shadow reacts to the movement of the person creating it. It follows their motion, delayed only by fractions of a second. But in this case, the dark form seems to step forward slightly ahead of the girl. Another strange detail is where it appears in the frame. Shadows usually need a surface to be projected onto, a wall, a floor, or another object. But this figure seems to pass across open space in the middle of the room before fading away, almost like something briefly walking beside the child. If Genevieve's daughter really was talking to someone in that dark room, maybe the camera briefly captured who or what she was talking to. But I'll leave you to be the judge on this one. The following video revolves around something that, at first glance, sounds impossible. A phone that keeps ringing even though it has no power connected to it. The phone has been sitting inside the house for years, an old landline model that the family kept mostly as a decoration after it stopped working. But recently, it started doing something strange. Watch this.
This haunted phone rings without power.
Out of nowhere, the phone begins ringing. Naturally, the first reaction was to pick it up and see who might be calling. But every time someone answered it, there was nothing on the other end of the line. No voice, no static, no sound at all, just silence. And the strange part is that the phone isn't even connected to an active power source. When the clip was first shared, many viewers were quick to offer a simple explanation. Some said it might be a recurring electrical spark somewhere in the wiring of the house, or perhaps leftover electricity briefly triggering the ringer. Wanting to rule that out, the owners actually opened the phone to inspect it, but inside, there was nothing that could realistically hold power long enough to make the phone ring repeatedly. No battery, no capacitor, large enough to store energy for more than a few seconds. And this wasn't a modern device either. The phone had reportedly been in the house since the 1970s. That detail made the situation even more unsettling for some viewers. Older landline phones are mechanical in nature, meaning the ringing sound usually requires a proper electrical signal traveling through the phone line. Without that signal, the bell simply shouldn't ring, which led some people to speculate about another possibility. Ringing phones are sometimes linked to what investigators call phantom calls, strange events where disconnected phones ring or pick up signals that can't easily be traced. Of course, there are still many possible explanations, from unusual wiring in the walls to interference coming from nearby lines. But when a phone that shouldn't have power suddenly starts ringing in the middle of a quiet house, it's hard not to wonder who, or what, might be trying to call. And the strangest part? Even after all the attempts to answer it, no one has ever been on the other end of the line. Now in this next video, a man named Nate, someone already recognized for the strange activity that has been happening inside his home, records something unsettling while visiting a cemetery for work. At first it was faint, like something shifting or moving somewhere between the rows of graves. Since he knew he was the only person there at the time, the noises immediately put him on edge. Watch this.
I heard you over there. I heard you moving around. Let me know you're here. Close that door. Yes, this is your cemetery, I know. I'm just trying to keep it nice for you. Keep it maintained and looking nice, out of respect. I'm not trying to So I'm hearing shuffling now. It sounded like it was behind the cement mixer. Fast footsteps or something that was back there. Clearly you can see there's nothing back there. So, not sure what that was. Gotta reach behind there. Alright then. That. A rainy day up here. Gotta love it. I swear, anytime the weather's like this, weird shit happens. So let's hope today is not one of those days. There's that thing. Holy f***. Yeah, that's just right? Hell no.
The area around him seems quiet, but the sounds continue, almost like someone slowly moving nearby while staying just out of sight. Nate tries to brush it off and continues filming, but the uneasy feeling never really leaves. Later in the video, after it gets darker, something even more disturbing appears. If you look closely beside the window, there's a faint figure standing there. It's difficult to make out clearly, but the shape is just visible enough to resemble someone watching from the side. And there's another detail many viewers didn't notice the first time. Earlier in the video, before the scene near the window, a shadowy figure can be seen standing outside in the background. The shape is dark and still, blending into the surroundings, which is probably why it's so easy to miss at first. After seeing the footage, many viewers started connecting it to the strange experiences Nate has already shared from his home. The unexplained scratches he sometimes wakes up with, objects being thrown across rooms, and sharp items suddenly moving without explanation. Because of that, some people began wondering if whatever has been causing those disturbances might not be limited to his house. Maybe it followed him, or worse, maybe it started somewhere else entirely. Cemeteries have long been associated with stories of restless spirits and lingering energy, places where the line between the living and the dead is often believed to be thinner than usual. So the question many people asked after watching the video was simple. Did Nate unknowingly bring something back with him from the cemetery that night? Or had it already been with him long before he ever stepped foot there? Again, I'll leave you to be the judge. In the following video, a man is up at 3:30 in the morning when he starts hearing strange noises in his apartment. And before he even goes looking, something has already made itself known. He notices the bathroom light is on, even though there's no one else home. That detail alone is enough to make him nervous, but as he slowly pans his phone camera toward the darkened hallway at the far end of the room, the footage catches something that stops him cold. Watch.
Son las 3:30 de la noche y estoy escuchando ruidos muy extraños. Lo más perturbador de todo es que la luz del baño está prendida y no hay nadie. No hay nadie. Voy a apagarla porque neta me está dando... Hay alguien al fondo. Hay alguien al fondo. Hay alguien al fondo. Ya no hay nadie. Ahí está. ¿Pero por qué? Si la prendo desaparece. No hay nada. No hay nada. What the fuck?
A tall, featureless black silhouette stands motionless in the doorway, solid, dark, and unmistakably humanoid. But what makes this harder to explain is what happens when the lights are switched on. It vanishes instantly, without a trace. And then, the moment the lights go off again, it's back. Same spot, same shape, same stillness. He repeats the test. Lights on, lights off, and the figure responds both times, as if it's tethered to the darkness itself. Some viewers think it's a shadow person, a term used widely in paranormal communities to describe dark humanoid figures that seem to operate at the edges of human perception, often spotted in peripheral vision or in low light. Others insist it's a trick of shadows from a specific object in the room, catching the bathroom light at an angle. But if that were true, flipping the main lights on would just replace one shadow with another, not erase the figure entirely. That distinction is what keeps this one so hard to dismiss. The following night, he's drawn back into another investigation, this time above his apartment, where he'd been hearing noises on the rooftop. He grabs his phone and heads up the concrete stairwell in the dark, and almost immediately, something responds. Listen closely.
Ayer estaba escuchando ruidos muy extraños arriba de mi departamento y decidí subir a grabar. nadie. No hay nadie. Y esto tiene candado, no se puede abrir. No se puede abrir. ¡Qué mierda! Ay, yo ya me voy de aquí. Un rostro claramente se alcanza a ver cuando la puerta se abre sola. Claramente se escucha que me están diciendo oye en el video.
A faint voice whispers the word oye, Spanish for hey, just as he starts moving, before he's said a word. Then, at the top of the stairs, the heavy wooden door swings open on its own, slowly and without any contact. And in the brief gap between the door and the wall, something pale and face-shaped appears for just a moment, with two dark hollows where the eyes would be. He checks the rooftop, finds nobody, confirms the fenced area is padlocked shut, and gets out. The disembodied whisper is what unsettles viewers most, because it comes first, before the door moves, before any visual anomaly, as if whatever was up there already knew he was coming. 2 nights, 2 encounters, both in the same building. Whatever it is, it doesn't seem to be going anywhere. In this next clip, a group of investigators have set up a Hikvision thermal imaging camera in what appears to be a hallway or entryway. White walls, grey tile, a pair of white-paned doors, and the conversation in the background is relaxed, almost casual, the kind of atmosphere you get when people are confident in their equipment and just waiting to see what it picks up. Watch.
No, it's not. I mean, I call this one right away.
The thermal display shows a persistent, human-sized heat signature sitting directly on those doors, warm yellows and reds clustered in a shape that the crosshair is already tracking. But when the camera pans to show the actual doors in normal view, there's nobody there. No one standing, no one visible through the glass. Many investigators believe heat signatures like this are residual energy, a presence that registers on thermal sensors precisely because it's no longer fully physical. Others think the explanation is simpler, a warm pipe behind the wall, sunlight absorbed in the material. But the signature stays consistent throughout, and you have to ask yourself, what exactly is standing at that door? Now, in this next clip, a young woman in Connecticut was stepping inside her house late one night in June of 2021, her Ring camera catching everything from the front porch. She'd been standing outside for a moment, waiting, and you can even hear her say, "Because it's not fully dark yet," to someone inside, casual and completely unbothered. Nothing about the moment feels off. Watch.
Because it's not fully dark yet.
The second she steps inside, a pale figure suddenly passes through the background, moving down the street, and many viewers immediately compare it to the appearance of a ghost. Some viewers tried explaining it away as a person walking under poor lighting conditions, but others pointed out how unusual the movement feels, especially because the figure doesn't appear to react to its surroundings at all. It simply passes by in silence, almost like it had somewhere specific to go. And that detail taps directly into one of the oldest paranormal ideas. Across multiple cultures, there are stories of road ghosts, or wandering apparitions, figures believed to repeatedly travel the same streets, paths or routes be connected to unfinished business, sudden death, or routines they carried out in life. So what do you think? A ghost or something else? The following two clips were both recorded in what appears to be the same industrial facility, a backroom space with concrete floors, pale green walls, and the low hum of fluorescent lighting overhead. The kind of place that's unremarkable on every other night. In the first clip, which was captured by what looks like a fixed security camera, the room is completely empty. No one is working late. No one is walking through. Just a metal garment rack with clothes hanging on it, a pair of rubber boots on the floor, and two clad white doors on the left wall. For nearly a full minute, absolutely nothing happens. Watch. The leftmost door swings open abruptly, fast, smooth, and with clear intention, and at the exact same moment, a loud rush of sound fills the room, almost like high-pressure water suddenly forcing through a pipe. And if you look closely at the boot, you'll see it moving like someone trying to turn from one direction to another. But the thing is, no one was wearing the boot. Then the doors start opening, locker after locker. A lot of viewers who've watched the full footage describe it as one of the most sustained, escalating sessions of unexplained activity they've ever seen. Not one event, but a cascade that keeps building until it becomes impossible to stay. Then in the second clip, recorded at night in what appears to be a security or guard room inside the same building, a man sits alone, coughing and breathing heavily, his camera pointed at a closed white door. He's not calm. You can hear it in every breath. He starts speaking in Vietnamese. "There's no one here at all," he says. And then, "It's knocking right at this door." Because it is. 4 loud, distinct knocks hit the other side of that door, one after another, and the man's voice shifts from fear into something closer to fury. Listen closely.
I need back. Hey. Đấy đi về. Phòng cửa khóa hết đấy. Đây đi. Đi về. Không có ai luôn nhá. Nó gọt được cửa này luôn này. Con người đâu được. Con người lúc này mà mình đi ra mở cửa là thấy rồi à. Đi mẹ nhà mày. Đi mẹ. Nhịt mẹ. Gò đi. Gò đi, đó. Không có ai mà nó gò cửa này giờ đấy.
He charges the door, kicks it open, sends the chairs stacked in front of it crashing to the floor, and finds a long, empty corridor. Lockers, a sink, a clothes rack, hard hats on a shelf. Not a single person. He circles the whole room, daring whatever knock to do it again. It doesn't. 2 clips, same building, same impossible pattern. Something moving through a space where nothing should be. So what do you think was on the other side of that door? Because whatever was in that facility that night, it wasn't interested in being found. In this next clip, a man is home alone at night when something inside his own house turns violent. He's been filming, seemingly documenting something that's already been going on, when out of nowhere, a loud, aggressive banging erupts from somewhere unseen, rhythmic and heavy, like something is slamming the floor, or ceiling repeatedly without stopping. He moves through the dark rooms in a panic, camera shaking, calling out, trying to figure out where it's coming from. It doesn't stop. He runs, slams a door behind him, and within seconds the banging hits the door he just closed. 3 heavy strikes, each one deliberate, each one telling him it knows exactly where he went. Watch.
Hello? Hello? No. Hello? Hello? Fuck. Hello? What do you want?
What makes this so hard to dismiss is how the source of that banging never becomes clear. No person appears, no animal, nothing visible explains the force behind those sounds. Some believe this is classic poltergeist behavior, a term rooted in German meaning noisy ghost, typically associated with chaotic physical disturbances and a sense that something is reacting directly to the person present. Others think the energy here feels less random and more targeted, like whatever's in that house wasn't just making noise, but responding. You can hear it in how the banging follows him. What do you think it wanted? This next video comes from a tattoo studio in Chihuahua, Mexico, where a man had been receiving security alerts about movement and strange noises in his shop, a place he describes as increasingly difficult to be around, to the point where he and those close to him hadn't been sleeping properly for days. On this particular night, he heads back to the studio after getting one of those alerts, unlocks the front door, and steps inside to find the room strangely cool despite the heat outside. Watch.
Se fue el flash a mi teléfono. Y eso que sí traigo bastante batería. Ay, no mames. Se cerró la puerta. Oigan, nada más voy a apagar y retirarme porque estos días no he podido estar a gusto, la verdad. No hemos podido dormir y mire. Bueno, nada más quería venirles a enseñar un poquito de lo que pasa aquí en el local y de lo que ha sido... Ah, el perro. De lo que ha seguido sucediendo, no ha cambiado mucho, nada más se ha quedado un poco repetitivo, por decirlo así. Bueno, los dejo porque esto se está poniendo mal vibroso aquí adentro. Hasta luego y muchas gracias por ver.
He sees a book lying flat in the middle of the wooden floor. The title of that book? El Diablo me obligó. The Devil Made Me Do It. He laughs it off a little, calling the ghost creative, but you can hear something tighten in his voice as he keeps moving through the space. He decides to go quiet for a moment and let the security camera record on its own, and that's when his phone light abruptly cuts out despite having a full battery. 3 things happen in quick succession that are difficult to dismiss. His phone goes dark without explanation, the bathroom door slams shut on its own with a sharp, echoing bang that sends him straight toward the exit, and then the security footage, recorded automatically while all of this was happening, shows a bright white orb hovering around the head of a porcelain doll on the yellow cabinet before disappearing, followed by that same book being violently thrown off the shelf and landing flat on the floor with a second loud bang. That's not a book sliding, it's pushed outward, off the edge, with force. Many people who've watched this point to the combination of the cold spot, the phone cutting out, and then the physical activity as a classic escalation pattern. The kind where whatever is present seems to be building towards something other than just passively existing in the space. Some believe the orb near the doll is significant, since objects with fixed, staring faces, dolls especially, are often described in paranormal communities as focal points, things that draw or anchor a presence. Others think the book choice wasn't random at all, that something in that room selected it deliberately. Skeptics will say the door could have been caught by airflow and the book by an unstable shelf, but the security footage makes that harder to argue, because you can see the book move outward, not downward. He leaves the shop that night, and based on what he said before walking out the door, it doesn't sound like he planned on going back anytime soon. And honestly, given everything that studio captured in under 6 minutes, can you blame him? The following clips were recorded by a worker doing his rounds inside what appears to be a large commercial supermarket, checking expiration dates in the deli and dairy section late at night, alone, under the hum of fluorescent lights. He'd been hearing strange noises for a while before he started filming, and he mentions it almost casually at first, like he's trying to convince himself there's a simple explanation. He walks the main aisles slowly, narrating his confusion, until he turns down a narrower aisle and finds a broken package lying on the floor in the middle of it, as if it had already fallen before he arrived. He's mid-sentence trying to figure out what happened when this happens. Watch.
Es bien raro porque estoy checando mis caducidades que me tocó aquí en Salchonería y Lácteos, y curiosamente escuché que algo se cayó. Realmente no alcancé a ver qué fue lo que se cayó, pero sí escuché que se cayó algo. Ya desde hace rato se andan escuchando ruidos pues extraños, y realmente se cayeron unas galletas, creo. No sé, es muy extraño todo esto. Se cayeron unas galletas. Oh, la madre.
A second box shoots out from the shelf entirely on its own, horizontal, forceful, not a slow slide, and the man barely finishes his thought before the shock hits him. What makes the reaction so hard to dismiss is how unscripted it feels. The camera jerks violently. The Spanish expletive that follows isn't practiced, it's instinctive. Skeptics will argue retail shelves can be unstable and product shifts happen, but the movement here reads more like a throw than a topple, and there was already one fallen item on the floor before this one came off. That's 2 incidents in the same aisle with no one else visible. The activity doesn't stay in one spot though. Later in the same night, in the same building, he pushes through a plastic curtain into the commercial kitchen. Heavy breathing audible, camera still shaking, because he's heard another noise from inside. Watch.
Otra vez están escuchando ruidos. Estaba aquí haciendo el recorrido, pero escuché un ruido aquí adentro. No sé si estaba crujiendo algo, o no sé si... No sé. Qué raro. Ya no sé realmente qué hacer. Todo me extraña de este lado. Ya no sé qué hacer. Ya realmente no sé qué es lo que voy a hacer. Ya no entiendo ni qué es lo que está... ¿Qué cojones? No mames. Sácate a la verga, al chile, pinche mamada.
Su puta madre. ¿Qué es eso? ¿Hay alguien ahí? ¿Qué es eso? ¿Qué se ve ahí al fondo? Oh, no mames. ¿Qué tal?
A loud metallic bang erupts with no visible source. Then the industrial oven's control panel, previously dark, activates suddenly with all its lights flashing red. He swears, he backs away, and then he notices something at the far end of a narrow dark gap behind the storage shelves. Before he can make sense of what he's looking at, a large cardboard box is shoved off the shelf directly toward him, and the camera cuts to black on his terrified yelp. Some people who've watched this think whatever is present in that building is becoming progressively more aggressive, escalating from something passive, objects already on the floor, to something actively directed at him. Others believe locations like this, with repetitive overnight labor and the kind of energy built up in industrial spaces over years, can attract or generate activity that responds to being witnessed. What's clear is that by the end of that second clip, he's no longer investigating the noises, he's running from them. The following clips were recorded by a woman and her young daughter, Sarah, inside their home late at night. And what makes this case particularly unsettling is that the activity didn't happen once and stop. It kept building. In the first clip, the woman is filming herself in the kitchen, visibly shaken, while Sarah sits on the counter behind her. She explains that just moments earlier, she heard knocking traveling down the hallway, followed by what sounded like quick footsteps, and Sarah heard them too, independently, without prompting. The woman points her phone toward a dark hallway near the staircase, speaking in a hushed voice about shadows she's seen there before, figures that seem to peek over the banister and disappear. You can feel the tension in the way she holds the camera, steady but uncertain. Then, just as they're trying to calm down, Sarah suddenly reacts to a new sound. Listen closely.
It's just really weird. We just heard. What did you hear? Oh, you heard. I just heard knocking coming all the way down the hallway. And she's like, "Is that Daddy?" I said, "No." I said, "Daddy's taking his shower right now."
But I heard footsteps too.
You heard footsteps? Is that what it was? I heard that too. And our dog is right here. The cat is way back in the bedroom. But we just heard. Hold up. I just heard footsteps way down there. Like, sometimes I'll see shadows over there at that staircase. Like going up. Or like peeking over the banister. I don't know. That was like really weird. So.
We'll make our snack, but if you see anything, that's super weird, like if you see like a shadow or like somebody.
Oh, we hope we don't see somebody.
Yeah.
That won't be good. Yeah. But no, we just heard, it sounded like quick walking. It was like really quick and it sounded like it came, I can't tell if that came from like upstairs where we've been hearing things or
downstairs.
Or like down at the
hallway.
entrance.
Yeah.
We keep.
I just heard something.
You heard something yet?
Yeah. It was like said like something 2 times.
Okay, what did it sound like?
It sounded like 2 times.
That's really weird.
It was like a zip, but it wasn't a zip. Like it wasn't like.
Did it sound like more like a whisper?
It whispered, and it just sounded like that.
Okay, let's make our snack and go to the bed. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
I'm pretty scared.
The child describes hearing a whisper, a sound, twice, and the woman, clearly disturbed, confirms it sounded like a whisper, not a mechanical noise. What makes this hard to dismiss is that the two of them weren't feeding off each other's panic. Sarah heard something the woman didn't, described it independently, and her description held up under questioning. By the end, both of them admitted they were scared, and they decided to just make a snack and go to bed. That decision became its own kind of horror. In the second clip, the phone is set down on the counter, and the camera is static as they move through the kitchen together. Watch.
Sarah, did you say you wanted a snack? You said you wanted a snack? Okay.
Can I help you do your biddings?
You heard that?
Meow?
No, it sounded like that noise you heard earlier.
Maybe it's just like a rat.
We don't have that sound. Let me go grab some of the stuff. What else do you want?
I'll take strawberries with milk. Because I want milk because milk are healthy. I heard it.
We'll do a healthy snack together. Does that sound good?
Okay, I'm gonna get on the table because I'm pretty scared because if you heard that noise, you heard it, cause I heard that like earlier. I heard it earlier, so while I was sitting there, I heard it.
Yeah, you heard you said it sounded like a snake sound, but it sounded like somebody talking at the same time.
I don't know. It was a snake or a what?
But if you were talking, you don't know what.
So I don't know. It's a snake or a person talking or a rat. I don't.
Okay, that was really weird. My phone just completely glitched.
Yeah.
It froze.
Yeah.
Into one spot, and I was like, whoa, I got a weird. You got a shiver feeling? I got like a weird shiver vibe feeling that just like it's got like really cold in here.
Oh yeah.
That was really weird.
Yeah, like I don't know, was that like a snake, a person?
I don't know, but I mean like that was like the phone glitched.
Yeah.
She's telling her story, and it was just.
Yeah, I'm telling my story.
Did I just see a flash? I don't know, it was really weird.
A loud, layered noise erupts from the direction of that dark hallway. Something that sounds like a deep growl, tangled with a metallic screech, aggressive enough to make the dog look up too. Then, almost immediately after Sarah tries to describe it, the phone violently glitches. The video freezes. The audio drops out completely. And when it recovers, the woman is standing there shaking, saying the room has suddenly gone ice cold. In paranormal research, a sudden temperature drop combined with electronic interference is one of the more frequently reported combinations, often associated with what investigators call an active presence drawing energy from its environment. Skeptics will point to a drafty house and a phone overheating, but the timing, the glitch happening in the exact moment the child is describing the sound, is the part that's genuinely difficult to explain away. So what exactly is in that hallway? Now in this next video, a man is alone at night inside what looks like an office break room or storage area, filming in complete darkness, and he's already terrified before anything even happens. He'd apparently been telling people something strange was going on in this room, and nobody believed him. So he went back in with his phone as his only light source, breathing heavy, scanning the space. Then the sound started. Watch.
Bạn hỏi mọi người không tin. Tụi mình luôn. Đứng đó. Đó. Phải đúng. I know.
First, there's a rustling in the dark, then a loud bang that sends him scrambling for the light switch. Once the room's lit up, he pans around and the camera settles on something sitting on top of the metal lockers, a large red bag of snacks. That's when it moves. No one near it, no vibration you can point to, no draft. It just scrapes forward several inches on its own, with an audible sound that makes him recoil immediately. He reaches out to touch it, almost like he needs to confirm it's real. Some viewers think an animal could explain the sounds in the dark, but that bag moving in a fully lit, clearly visible room is a lot harder to explain away. What do you think was in that room with him? In this next clip, an overnight caregiver had been noticing strange activity at the same time every night, consistent enough that they decided to act like they were asleep and secretly hide a phone to record what was happening. The caregiver works with a female patient who, according to their account, is completely unable to walk. That's the detail you need to hold on to before watching this. Listen closely. A woman steps partially into the doorway from the adjacent room, hunched forward at the waist, hands resting on her thighs, staring directly toward where the caregiver is lying. She doesn't move, not a flinch, not a shift in weight. According to the text, she stood in that exact position for over an hour. Many believe this could be a case of something else entirely occupying the patient's body. Others think it's sleepwalking, though that explanation does little to account for the posture. What would you do if you looked up and saw that? This next video was shared by a lady whose brother had just moved into a new place in Texas, and within what appears to be the first day or two of settling in, before the furniture was even properly arranged, things began moving on their own. The mattress was still wrapped in plastic, the dresser hadn't been placed yet, and according to the person filming, something was already making itself known inside that apartment. Watch. The dresser slides across the laminate floor, slowly at first, a deliberate scraping drag that fills the room, then lurches forward a second time before the camera swings down to the mattress, where indentations press into the plastic wrap as the entire thing is pulled across the floor toward the brother sitting nearby. What makes this harder to dismiss is the texture of those indentations. Not a single pull, but the kind of uneven pressure you'd expect from something stepping and dragging at the same time. Some viewers immediately pointed to poltergeist activity, and that term carries real weight here. The word itself comes from the German poltern, meaning to rattle or make noise, and Geist, meaning spirit, a noisy ghost, historically associated with physical disturbance rather than visual apparition. What separates a poltergeist from other hauntings, according to many who study these cases, is the sense of intention behind the movement. Objects don't just fall, they're directed. Skeptics argue fishing line and an off-camera accomplice could explain both pieces of furniture, but the synchronized scraping audio and the progressive movement of the mattress give a lot of viewers pause. That same apartment appears to be the setting for the next clip, this time captured by a static security camera at around 9 a.m. on the 25th of March, 2026, as the man moves through the hallway, cleaning and organizing the space. The room is dim, the mattress still wrapped in plastic and propped against the wall, and something is already audible before anything visible happens. Listen closely. Beneath the ambient room tone, a constant layered stream of distorted whispers runs through nearly the entire clip. Some viewers claim to make out phrases, with one voice appearing to say, "Let us be free," before a loud bang slams from somewhere off camera, twice, and in the background doorway, a dark silhouette appears for just a moment, then disappears, followed seconds later by a faint, wispy shape drifting through the opposite entryway. The man doesn't seem to react. Either he didn't notice, or he's gotten used to it. The whispers themselves are strange because they don't behave like environmental audio. They layer and overlap in a way that some describe as electronic, almost processed, which has split viewers. Some believe the apartment is genuinely saturated with something, while others think the audio was added in post. But then there are those bangs, and that silhouette, and the fact that both clips exist from the same location. Whatever moved that furniture on the first day might not have stopped. The question is whether that presence is content to stay in the background, or whether those whispers were a warning of something still building. You tell me. The following video was recorded by a woman living on a river at night, and what she captured wasn't something she could see. It was something she could only hear. Listen closely.
Okay, so as you can see, it's pitch black out there, right? I live on a river, and there's no lights. So if there's anyone there, but like, it's pitch black. So just listen for a moment, okay? And tell me that you would not be by this.
Out of that total darkness, a wailing sound rises from somewhere along the river, high-pitched, drawn out, fluctuating in pitch, like it can't decide what it wants to be. It doesn't sound quite like an animal, and it doesn't sound quite human either. She whispers, "out of the dark," while it's still going, like she can't fully process what she's hearing. Some people in the comments immediately pointed to a fox, or a fisher cat, both known for producing screams that are genuinely unsettling at night. But others aren't convinced. Something about the layered, almost melodic quality of that wail feels harder to dismiss. Quick thing before we continue, all of our videos are now available on Spotify too, so if that's somewhere you already find yourself late at night, every compilation we've made is waiting there for you. Whichever way you'd rather watch, the link's in the description. Now back to the video. In this next clip, a man is working a late shift alone in what looks like a storage room or workshop. Concrete floors, shelving units, items draped in black plastic tarps. The kind of place that feels uncomfortable even when the lights are on. Trying to pass the time, he's sitting alone watching cartoons on his phone, clearly bored and counting down the hours until his shift ends. Then everything changes. Watch.
This job
Richard just dropped.
Yellow next. Go! Wow! What the hell?
We did that much love, boy.
What's all the hubbub? Oh, thank you, Dad.
Ah! Ow.
If you look closely, you'll see a hand move, but before even processing what he saw, a loud scream erupts from somewhere inside the building, sending him running. For many viewers, the scream was terrifying, but for those familiar with his story, it wasn't the most disturbing part, because this wasn't the first strange thing he'd encountered. Days earlier, he had made a decision. He wanted to get rid of a statue he believed was connected to the bizarre events he'd been experiencing. According to him, activity around the property had become so unsettling that he began wondering whether the object itself was somehow responsible. Hoping to finally put an end to it, he went looking for the statue. What happened instead only made things worse. Watch. As he approaches the location, he doesn't immediately see the statue. What catches his attention first is something that looks disturbingly human, a hand. Only afterward does the statue finally come into view. That detail sparked intense discussion online, with many viewers urging him not to touch the object under any circumstances. Several referred to it as a totem. In folklore and spiritual traditions around the world, a totem is often understood as an object that serves as a focal point for spiritual energy. Depending on the belief system, a totem can act as a protective vessel, a symbolic representation of a spirit, or, in darker interpretations, a physical anchor through which an entity maintains a connection to a particular place. Of course, there is no way to verify any of that from the footage alone, but the timing is difficult to ignore. He decides to remove the statue. He sees what appears to be a human-like hand near it. Then, days later, the lights go out. A hand appears again in the darkness, and a scream echoes through the building. Whether it's a haunted object, a totem, or something else entirely, many viewers came away with the same advice. If the activity started around that statue, touching it might be the last thing he should do. The following video was recorded during a nighttime paranormal investigation, and what the team catches on their equipment in this first clip is the kind of moment that makes investigators stop mid-sentence. They're running a PSB7 spirit box, a device that sweeps rapidly through radio frequencies, producing a wash of static and fragmented broadcast noise, and a K2 EMF meter sits nearby, its colored lights already active. The spirit box has been scanning for a while, the familiar rhythmic static filling the room, when something cuts through it. Listen closely.
Fred.
Hello? I heard it. Hello.
Frederick. Is that you?
I think I heard you say hello, man. How are you doing?
Through the sweep of static and radio fragments, a female-sounding voice comes through, distinctly, almost conversationally, saying the name Fred. The man reacts immediately, asking if he heard a hello, and a woman off-camera quietly says, "Frederick," and asks, "Is that you?" That name didn't come from the broadcast band. Radio fragments don't articulate proper names in response to context, which is exactly why the spirit box community treats moments like this differently from background noise. Skeptics will argue that a sweeping scanner will eventually land on a syllable that sounds like anything you're listening for, a phenomenon called apophenia, where the brain imposes patterns on random sound, but that explanation sits uncomfortably with how cleanly the word arrived and how quickly both investigators recognized the same name independently. Whatever came through that box, it knew exactly when to speak. Now this next clip comes from the same building, what appears to be a large, ornate venue with marble staircases and carpeted ballrooms, and instead of a spirit box, the evidence here takes a different form entirely. A man in a security uniform pulls out his phone to show the investigators what the building's own security cameras have already picked up. Watch.
We got busted.
I found out about Adele Langer and her 2 kids. And I found an article from this week.
There you go, right there. Oh, let me see this.
That's a shadow.
Dude, what the heck?
That's
Oh my god.
such a good photo.
Whoa, that's like blending in with the fucking carpet, dude.
I caught a shadow on. Seriously.
Oh man.
Wow!
That's weird, dude.
That is so cool. Which room is this?
That's like
Is this like a
ballroom or
ballroom?
dude.
I've been kind of here off.
Yeah, sorry,
We
dude.
found a hallway that we've never.
The phone screen shows 2 separate pieces of footage, one a still photo, one a video clip, both time-stamped in the early hours of the morning. one at 3:31 a.m. and one at 1:02 a.m. In the photo, a dark, semi-transparent humanoid shape sits or crouches on what looks like a row of covered chairs in a large carpeted room. In the second piece of footage, a blurry, brownish figure stands in the middle of an empty ballroom. Both figures are vaguely human in shape, but clearly not solid. The camera operator's reaction says it all. It's like blending in with the carpet, dude. Shadow figures captured on security feeds during the dead hours of the morning are among the harder categories of footage to dismiss outright, because the camera wasn't placed there by an investigator hoping to catch something. So what exactly is using that ballroom at 1 in the morning? The following video dates back to 2016, when a lady was 9 years old, spending time at home with her cousin, doing what most kids do, playing around, recording random moments, and not thinking too much about what might be happening in the background. Years later, after strange things in the house began to resurface, unexplained sounds, subtle movements, and that persistent feeling that something wasn't quite right, she decided to go back and review old footage, hoping they might have missed something back then. And that's when she found this. Watch closely.
Dude, what the heck, man? Who are you? Hello? What was that? Did you guys see that? Vines. Come on. Come here. Hello from the other side. Running outside. Walking really funny. At least I got that on camera. Bye.
First, an unusual light appears. It's brief, easy to miss, but clearly there. And then, something else. A figure. When she reviewed the clip again as an adult, she said the shape looked like a baby figure. Small, low to the ground, and oddly formed. But once the video was shared, people had very different interpretations. Some were convinced it didn't look like a child at all. They believed it looked like a demonic figure. Others made a different comparison entirely, saying it resembled Pennywise. For context, Pennywise is a fictional entity from It by Stephen King, often portrayed as a shape-shifting being that commonly appears as a clown to lure children, but is actually something far more sinister beneath the surface. It's known for taking forms that feel familiar, yet deeply unsettling. And that comparison only made the clip more disturbing for viewers, because if something in that video really did resemble a child, then it becomes harder to explain. Now in this next clip, a man with a dark beard and a black t-shirt explains that ever since his downstairs neighbor passed away, strange things have been happening in his apartment, things he couldn't ignore anymore. Commenters apparently urged him to try sage, so at night, he decides to do a full cleansing ritual on his own, holding 2 different sage sticks, one wrapped in red twine, one in white, and placing a raw brown egg on the floor in the middle of the room, a practice rooted in certain spiritual traditions where the egg is believed to absorb negative energy from a space. He moves through the apartment, wafting thick smoke into every corner, speaking firmly to whatever might be in the room with him, telling it it's not welcome and that it needs to leave. Watch.
Told me to use the sage to bless the house, but first I'm gonna use what y'all said and put the egg in the middle of the room. The egg in the middle, okay. It keeps going out. Okay, it's good. Okay. If anything is here, you are not welcome. Is it going out? Oh, that's good. You're not welcome here. You have to leave. You're not welcome. I really didn't want to light. You're not welcome here. You have to leave. There we go. Don't show no fear. Just, you're not welcome here. Not welcome. In the corners. I think it's moving. Not welcome here. You have to leave, find your way out. Okay, I think that's enough. I think I just get into spirit mode. Okay, well, we're gonna check the egg. Check this egg. Hopefully I have a bad spirit in here. Fucking something. I'm gonna crack it into this bowl. See what happens. And
while he's approaching a closed door in the hallway, a small object that had been resting on top of the door frame suddenly falls with a sharp clatter, and he immediately says, "I think it's moving." That alone is unnerving, but what happens when he cracks the egg at the end is something else entirely. The brown egg he'd left on the floor comes apart over a glass measuring cup filled with water, and instead of a normal yolk, a thick, black, tar-like liquid pours out, turning the water dark and murky almost instantly. If you're familiar with limpias, a traditional cleansing practice common in Latin American folk spiritualism, the egg is believed to pull negativity and dark energy into itself, and a rotten or discolored result is seen as confirmation that something malevolent was present. Skeptics would argue the egg was simply spoiled before the ritual ever started. But that falling object mid-ceremony is harder to explain away. So what do you think was actually in that apartment? Like and subscribe if you're enjoying watching this video. This next clip was recorded by a woman who was spending the night parked at a rest stop, a deserted stretch of road. No cell service, just a couple of semis and a van nearby, and her, alone in her car, with a camera pointed out the window at the picnic shelters across the lot. She notices something under the leftmost shelter, almost immediately. Watch.
What the fuck am I looking at, you guys? Look in the center of the video. This white cloud keeps going back and forth. Watch. I'm at a rest stop in a deserted area with no cell service. There's 4 other vehicles here with me. Well, 3 other vehicles. There's 2 semis and a van and me. Watch the center of my screen. See that big cloud thing? Look at that. What the f is that? It keeps going back and forth like it's walking back and forth. What the f? And there's nothing. There's no vehicles. There's no vehicles going by. It's not a light reflection. Watch. Shh. Rosie, be quiet. I mean, we have to be quiet so we can see better, right? Stop.
A semi-translucent, grayish-white mass hovers under that covered picnic area, drifting slowly from one side to the other and back again in what she herself describes as a pacing motion, back and forth, contained entirely within the structure. She rules out light reflection on camera, pointing out there are no vehicles passing by. If you watch the movement closely, it isn't drifting the way fog or exhaust would. It's rhythmic, deliberate, almost like something trapped in a loop it can't break out of. Some viewers think it resembles what's sometimes called a residual haunting, where energy from a past moment replays itself endlessly in the same spot. Others aren't sure it's residual at all. Something that paces feels aware. She's sitting alone in the dark with no way to call for help, watching it move. What would you do?